Thank you for joining Wayne State University's graduate information session. My name is Chantel Caven. I'm an outreach specialist here at the graduate school, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. Up first, we have my boss, the Dean of the graduate school, Dr. Amanda Bryan Friedrich, that will be bringing you greetings.
Oh, wow. It's wonderful to see everybody this evening in my virtual world. I have you guys all in my head. Welcome to Wayne State University. Welcome to our info session for graduate school. You've come here because you're interested in pursuing a graduate degree, and that makes me very happy, and it makes the Wayne State community very happy. Why would you want to get a graduate degree? Getting a graduate degree in today's society is something that a lot of people don't really understand. But if you're a person who really believes, first of all, that they can impact the world, they can impact the world in great ways, and all they need is a little bit more education and a little bit more training, Wayne State's the place for you. If you're in a job right now and your job is going great, but you want to see just how much more you want to do, we can help you do that too. Wayne State is definitely the place for you. We tackle world problems. We believe in educating a global community. Wayne State is a place that invites everyone in. We believe in giving access to education to everyone who has the desire and the ability to perform. So feel invited, feel welcomed, and know that this is a place for you. Now, before I go, I just wanted to say that I feel like nowadays we are thinking about so many different things. We still got a pandemic going on, we still got all kinds of other stuff going on. Coming together with people who are like minded, pursuing the same kind of goals that you are, can be a safe haven. So think about actually now starting your graduate education at Wayne State today, where you can find your community. And with that, I hope that you get the information that you need today. If you don't, please feel free to reach out to us. And I'll turn it back over to Chantel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Matter, for that greeting. We really appreciate it. You always do a fantastic job with that. Right now, I'm going to share with you our itinerary for this evening. So, for the first 50 minutes, you'll hear from a couple of speakers. And then the second hour is really dedicated to you having the opportunity to speak with the schools and colleges directly. As Dr. Amanda mentioned, our main goal is to ensure you have your questions answered this evening regarding graduate school overall and to confirm your interest in pursuing that degree right here at Wayne State University. So, up next, we have our Associate Dean, Jeff Pruchnick, who will be talking to you about funding your graduate degree. So, Jeff, take it away. Jeff, you're on mute if you can hear me.
Sorry about that. All right,
No,
try
no
this
problem. You
one
were
more
doing such a
time.
great job.
Okay, hold on. We may get the infinite screen for a second here. Okay, we all right now? So to start over again, my name is Jeff Prifnick. I'm Associate Dean of the Graduate School in charge of Student Affairs. It's my pleasure to be with you tonight. to talk about how to fund your graduate degree. So you'll see on your screen a grad scholarships email address that you can email at any time if you have a question about a particular scholarship or funding opportunity. But my personal email address is also there. So please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or if you're having any trouble finding information that you need. If I don't know the answer, I'll be sure to get it to someone who can answer your question. So I've got a couple of questions in advance, which I'll address if we have time. And then I'll also be available in the general Q&A Zoom room to answer any questions you may have. Now, the thing that by far we get asked the most about are graduate assistantships. And this makes sense because that's usually your most robust funding mechanism at a university for graduate students. We have about 650 students that are funded at any time at Wayne State on a graduate teaching assistantship, a graduate research assistantship, or what we call a graduate student assistantship. So that's where students perform a service that doesn't neatly fit into teaching or research. So for instance, currently we have students that are funded to tutor or to edit an academic journal. So benefits with an assistantship include full tuition coverage, health insurance, as well as a stipend. Now, for new students at least, all assistantships are bestowed by a department. So you're going to want to talk to your program director if you're a new student or applying to be a new student to find out if you qualify for an assistantship and what their process may be. So I would check department program web pages for that information, but it's always good to mention it in your personal statement. And when in doubt, contact your graduate director and make sure that they're aware that as you're applying, you're also interested in funding. Now, there are also a large number of graduate school scholarships and fellowships in addition to assistantships. Now, most of these, again, for new students are selected by departmental nominations. There's about 200 of these every year that cover all tuition costs for students. There's about another 200 that cover partial tuition costs. And I use the word partial there because typically they'll require you to either take a few credits over what's being paid for or require you to be a full-time student, but they are very significant scholarships that pay the majority of tuition for a student. And there's a number of other funding opportunities. This includes conference travel and for PhD students, summer dissertation support. So an activity that I just finished that I enjoyed very much was giving out about $40,000 in conference travel experience for grad students that are presenting at research conferences over the summer. And we also gave out about 15 summer dissertation support fellowships for students in PhD programs working on their dissertations. Other funding resources that are internal that you want to look at is what's called My Scholarship Portfolio at Wayne State. And you can find that pretty easily by just searching that term on Wayne State's website or just Googling WSU and My Scholarship Portfolio. Now, that's a clearinghouse for scholarships, most of which are endowed externally that are available for different departments. If you put in your information, after you answer a series of questions, it'll let you know which ones you might be able to apply for or be eligible for. You also, of course, want to think about federal student aid and to fill out your FAFSA. Now, these on your screen right now is a number of private scholarship resources that we recommend students check out. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are some very important ones or ones that give out large amounts of funding either through loans or scholarships. So you'd want to check into these. And then finally, here's just a few final tips. You want to start right away. You want to make sure to follow that FAFSA. Again, contact your program director or the advisor for your graduate program to see how you can make sure that they're aware that you're looking for funding opportunities. Check out the Scholarship Clearinghouse. Look for private scholarships, and again, apply for everything that you think might be a good fit for you.
All right, Jeff. So we have a little time. I think there's some questions that we could go ahead and try to answer. So one of the first questions is: Are there is there funding available for master students?
Yeah, so sometimes students will assume that all funding goes to PhD students, right? But this is going to vary from program to program. There's also at least, I think, about 75 scholarships directly through the graduate school that are only available to master students. And all but the summer dissertation fellowship that comes through the graduate school is available to MA students. And that is for the obvious reason that master's students don't write dissertations, but every other one MA students are eligible for. But again, this is something you'll want to check with your department about. Some departments do only fund PhD students and not MA students in their program, but that's a department level preference. So you don't want to make that assumption. You'll want to talk to your program director and see what they can tell you about that.
Okay, great. I have another question. So my question is, all these students are thinking about coming to graduate school. And so we all kind of know about tuition, but what are some other costs that we should be
Sure.
considering as a graduate student in particular?
Well, there may be some material costs and book costs depending on which program you're going into, and those are good things to ask about. Or if you have the opportunity to talk to current students to get a feel for that. If you're moving to this area or moving closer to campus, housing is going to be something you're going to want to think about. And Wayne State's made some important investments in making it easier for students who commute from a little further away, including free access to public transportation to get to campus. But that is going to be, something you're going to want to look at and examine how that might add to your costs while you're attending Wayne State.
Good. Another question I have is regarding travel grants. Maybe something students may not have heard about, but what is that funding like at Wayne State? And can you tell us a little bit about what that might be?
Sure. So it is important that students, particularly in PhD programs, but also in many MA programs, are presenting their research and networking with people in their field as part of their journey through graduate school. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the grad school just gave out about $40,000 in travel funding for students that are presenting over the summer. Those were actually matching funds for departments. That's about $80,000 just going to those students that were selected. There's a variety of other mechanisms at both the department and the college level, as well as students who are presenting from grant-funded research projects where the cost of that is built into the grant. So it is very much a supported activity at Wayne State. And there's a lot of opportunity for travel funding.
Okay, great. And then I think I have like one last question.
Sure.
You know, life happens, right? As a graduate student, there can be just something where an emergency comes up. Um, does the graduate school have anything to support a student who may have an emergency?
Sure. So I would say, across the university as a whole, it kind of depends on what the emergency is, what kind of resource might be there. So there is a program, for instance, at Wayne State that covers housing emergency or housing insecurity specifically. Now, the grad school has provided emergency funding for specific situations and also bridge funding, sometimes advance on salary for salaried students. So I'd say if you find yourself in an emergency, there are a lot of resources out there, and you definitely want to communicate that and get in touch with everyone and see what's out there.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to ask you just for one maybe final tip that, these students are considering coming here, and their, funding is sometimes a concern. Just what would your final tip be to a prospective student thinking about this journey?
Yeah, if you're thinking about funding, I would always say don't be afraid to ask. So, ask your director, look for those kinds of funding sources. Get in touch with those directors early and often. If you end up, say, not coming one year, make sure they know you're still interested the second year, and make sure that everyone's aware that you're interested in all kinds of funding options that may be available.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for that presentation. Now we're going to hear from our students. So, as they are coming up, I will let you know that they're going to talk about their experience here at Wayne State. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell us what they're studying now and, what they plan to do, or more importantly, why they chose Wayne State. So, as I got my panel up here, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to start with, let's start with Isaiah. Can you tell us, introduce yourself, tell us where you did your undergraduate study and what you're studying now and why you chose Wayne?
Hi guys, thank you Chantel for the introduction. My name is Isaiah Adelabu. I'm stepping into the fourth year in my PhD program here at Wayne State, studying physical chemistry. So it's very exciting to be doing awesome research here at Wayne State. And pretty much I had my bachelor's back home from Nigeria, and my bachelor's was in industrial chemistry. Then thereafter I got a master scholarship to study in Saudi Arabia, which, I went there for like 2 years. Then after that I applied to the United States because I just wanted to learn from, the best and all of that. So I applied to a couple of schools, and, I'd say like Wednesday stood out when I was about making my final decision because I consulted with some of my friends who are already in the program, and I, compared like the package, the benefits, the faculties, and all of that, and the environment. So those are like some of the indications that gave me like a very good reason to choose Wayne State. And pretty much it's 4 years. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Anthony? Can you share again where you did your undergraduate work, what you're studying now, why you chose Wayne?
Sure thing, Chantel. Can you hear me well?
You're good.
Perfect. Thank you for having me this afternoon. Anthony Webster here. I am a second year PhD student at Wayne State University, and I received my undergrad degree from Jackson State University in Mississippi. So I have deep love for HBCUs. I attended Eastern Michigan for my master's degree. I received that some years ago, and currently I'm studying education, leadership, and policy studies at Wayne State University. And the population of students that I'm interested most in supporting are underserved, underrepresented students. And Wayne State is, a staple for supporting students in the educational realm within DPSCD. And so when I applied to different schools and got accepted to a couple, of course, funding was also on the table as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But Wayne State was a perfect opportunity, perfect university to kind of pursue my passion along with what kind of the passion for working with those type of students. And so it just seemed right, and so I'm glad I made the decision, and I haven't been disappointed yet.
All right, thank you. And Nikhil, again, can you share your undergraduate institution, what you're currently studying, and why you chose Wayne?
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Hi, I'm Nikhil. I have finished my undergraduate back from India, and currently I'm pursuing master's in robotics engineering, mainly in concentration of industrial automation. So basically, I have also applied to other universities within US. But what was more interesting is that the labs that were present in my stream was really cool, and I had a live tour of the courses and labs and everything, and this one made me pick Wayne State University apart from the other universities. And I suggest you guys to come over so that you guys have a lot of fun as well as study a lot.
All right, thank you. And then you know what? I can't just be the moderator and sit here. So again, I'm Chantel Caven, but I'm also a warrior too. I am finishing up my MBA here at Wayne State, and I will tell you, I was one of those people. Like if you had talked to me a few years ago, I would have been doing higher ed. But as my life changed and things and goals of that, I had an opportunity to be here and look at what I might want to pursue, and business just aligned very well. And the Elder School was fantastic. My experience, like not just because I'm work here and not just because I'm the moderator here, it's been great. My classmates have been so diverse in what they're doing. So your network is just really amazing. So I will too talk about my experience here as well. So I am, as we've talked about, we have a lot of questions to ask you all. And one that, they're prospective students, and Anthony, you kind of alluded to this. You applied to a few schools. So I'm going to center you out first and say, was Wayne State your first choice?
Actually, I cast a wide net when I was applying to PhD programs. I think this is a safe space to be honest, right? And I think as students on the call are thinking about what a grad school looks like, I think thinking about things that are important to you, make a pro con list of things that are important to you, things that you can't live without, things that you say these are my non-negotiables. I did that with several schools, and at the time, I applied to some out-of-state schools. I'm currently in the state of Michigan, of course, and um, moving was not an option. So I was like, okay, can't move right now. All right, so I'm applying in state, right? And so when Wayne State, offered funding, of course, and I'll talk about that again later. It kind of sealed the deal, and as they say, the nail was in the coffin, and it made sense to me to do that. And being in a great program, I think the Ed Leadership and Policy Studies program at Wayne State, with the faculty support and the research that they're doing, align perfectly with what I was doing. And I will say that when I started to look more into the program, there were faculty members who were interested in studying things that I'm interested in studying, or were already doing some similar things that my research focuses on. And so it kind of aligned perfectly. Whereas other departments, at other universities, there wasn't a great match with faculty. And so I think, as students are looking and researching schools, look at funding, look at faculty research, what are people doing within the departments, and make that pros and cons list to help you kind of dwindle down your list a little bit on your list. But you want to do that pros and cons to kind of pare that list down as best as possible.
And so you pared it down on Wayne State.
I did.
All right, we have another one of our great students here to join us. So I'm going to ask you Takila, can you introduce yourself? Can you tell us where you did your undergraduate study and where you're currently studying now? And then why did you choose Wayne State?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Tykeela Turner. I am a graduate student in the Master of Social Work program. I did my undergrad at Alma College and I got a bachelor's in psychology and sociology. So I use those skills to transfer into the School of Social Work program. I chose Wayne State. I actually have a long history with Wayne State. I was a part of the Math Corps program when I was younger as a student and then as well as a tutor. Being a Detroiter, a native Detroiter, I wanted to be home and I wanted to be a part of a diverse atmosphere. So I would say that was definitely the driving force of my decision to choose Wayne because I knew that I knew that the program was rigorous and was going to allow me to apply myself in all of the ways that I wanted to. But beyond that, it had that element of home that I was missing in undergrad.
All right. And I'm going to come right back to you really quickly, but I'm going to ask you and Nikhil this question because both of you started your program during the pandemic. So, learning how to build your graduate school network, I'm just curious if you could share what your experience is, and then Nikhil, I'll ask you that same question of how you've been able to develop your graduate student network.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I initially was not a very involved student. I had the COVID blues. I was not enthused about online classes. The teachers were doing great, but honestly, that was just not my area of comfort. So I was able to connect with other classmates and kind of build this social network, so to speak. Um, I actually was able to connect with four young ladies that were in class with me, and we have this Black Girl Book Club group, excuse me, that we send each other articles, books, and just if we have classes together, talk about things like that. So through class, as well as through the graduate ambassador program, being a graduate ambassador has allowed me to sit on panels as such and connect with students. I've received emails from prospective students and current students. Um, and just in that way, really there was no um, I would say huge hurdle that I had to jump over, other than getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Thank you for sharing. Nikhil, you want to talk a little bit about how you've been able to connect?
Yeah, sure. Being an international student is not easy. I when I was in my undergraduate, I was never the first person to take a move or go communicate with people. And coming here and starting communicating to people, making small talks was not easy for me. But I have learned that you need to make small talks and gain connections. I have met a lot of people through the career services, or I'm saying in a university tower apartments, which is by Wayne State University. And I have met a lot of people over here. You just need to make the first move and make small talks. And then once you make small talks, you just get a little bit friendly and try hanging out with people. And that's how I think you make good connections.
Thank you for sharing. I'm going to this. We just had a presentation about funding, and Isaiah and Anthony both kind of talked about it. So I'm just going to put it out there. How are you funding your degree? So I'm going to start with Isaiah. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then Anthony follow up?
Yeah, pretty much I would say that the source of funding is Wayne State. So I got a scholarship as a teaching assistant. So in situations where I'm not a teaching assistant, I'm a research assistant because my professor placed me on research assistantship. And pretty much it's been like, the fund is there. I don't have to worry about where money is coming from. So it gives me room to, focus on my research and, what I have to do as a PhD student and all of that. Initially, the offer from Wayne State was that I get a graduate teaching assistantship, and it was like a lot of money, right? So it's just like you have to meet some certain conditions after each session so that you can renew the assistantship, and it's constant. Well, particularly for my department, which is chemistry, which is more like a servicing department. So there are a lot of jobs to be done. There are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of ways that students can be engaged. That way, the university pays for your tuition, pays your stipend, and I would say pretty much it's been good. Of course, as long as you're living within your means, you have everything figured out. The money is sufficient to to make you live well and be happy. I'm happy. Good.
Thank you. Anthony, you want to talk a little bit about how you're funding?
Yeah, so I am, of course, through the College of Education, and I'm a AACTE, which stands for the American Association for Teacher Education. So the title of the fellowship I have is called the Home Scholars. And so the Home Scholars is a national program that funds underrepresented PhD or master's degree students on getting their master's or PhD or EDDs in the realm of education. And it's fully funded. I'm fully funded for 3 years. I have conference and travel fees as part of my a fellowship as well as a stipend that I receive as well. And I think I'll say this for the students on the call is that closed mouths don't get fed. And so I think Jeff mentioned earlier is that you have to have those conversations. You have to tell people, hey, this is what I'm working with. This is what I have. This is what I don't have. So going into, your interviews and your personal statements, don't be shy. Talk about the need, and I think that's kind of where that need came up because I was very transparent in my interview as well as in my personal statements and everything. Hey, I don't have the funding, or it'll be a piece together type of situation. It'll be a long time if I have to come out of pocket with it. And I think when I made those comments and people saw that this is somebody that we want to have in our program, this is someone that will add value to our program. And that's kind of how the universe connected the dots for me, and I was given this opportunity. And currently, there are 3 of us funded through the College of Education.
That's awesome. I'm just going to talk a little bit too, because, as someone who's working full time, and I'm sure some of you all can talk about that as well, even though I work for Wayne State. So they do have employee tuition benefit assistance that's available too. But don't just stop there. You can still apply for scholarships because, it allows you to take a couple classes at your time. If you have a timeline in your mind or a goal that you want to achieve, still apply for scholarships. You're entitled to do that. So I will tell you the first couple of years, no scholarships. But my final year, I did receive a scholarship. So this is something that can happen for you. So even if you don't get a scholarship in your first year or first semester, continue to apply. As everyone's mentioned, continue to ask questions of other people to see, like, where can I find some other funding mechanisms while you're here. Now, I want to switch kind of the tone of our conversation a little bit and talk a little bit about some fun stuff. So, my first question would be, what do you enjoy about Detroit? Because Wayne State is in Detroit. So, what do you enjoy, and what are some must see places? And if each of you can share something you enjoy and some place you might recommend these prospective students to take a look at or visit.
Actually, since this is my first semester, I have not gone out way much, but I can suggest you that there's a riverbank nearby, let's say where you can walk and have some nice breeze. And if you are environment enthusiastic, then you should definitely go visit that place. And if you are into museums and all, I suggest you go visit art history. And there's also a historical museum nearby, which is really awesome.
Thank you for sharing. Let's go, Taikila. Where would you suggest? You are a native Detroiter here, so you
Yeah.
know.
I'm very big on experiences, so I would say look on Eventbrite, look on Facebook, join the groups that talk about it. Um, like add the Detroit Diet on Instagram, add Vibes Detroit on Instagram. I'm always going somewhere because there's always new places for me to go. I don't have just one place to say. I really enjoy going to the conservatory at Belle Isle. It's free. Well, technically not free. You have to have a state park pass, but the conservatory is free after you check that box. Um, and I just like looking at flowers and being one with nature. So that's my dig. But beyond that, yeah, just look on the pages that are on Facebook and Instagram. You can find something that is more attuned to your personal needs for sure.
All right, Isaiah.
Yeah, so just to add to that, Detroit is a very lively and busy city. So for a place like Detroit, it's always one event or the other. So there is always something going on. So you just have to, look at the right spot, or you just look in the right direction. There is something. So I've been to a couple of places. I've been to Belle Isle. I've been to Little Caesars Arena to watch the Pistons play basketball. I've been to Fox Theater. I've been to Comerica Park, and there are like a lot of bars, a lot of places that you can go to, Midtown, downtown. Like it's always something to be done. And also on another side, I love playing soccer. So every Saturday and Wednesday, I play soccer. I have like a group, like we have a WhatsApp group. We connect with other guys. Like different guys. From different countries. Different discipline and all of that. So it's more of like a social interaction. So we play soccer. We discuss. We talk about things just to while away time, and get off the burden of some of the intense research that you have to do. So there is always something to be done.
All right, Anthony, where are you going? What are you
Let's
doing
see.
in masters?
I used to belong to the streets before I was a PhD student. But I will say, I appreciate how integrated the university is with the city of Detroit. And so when you step out of your rest hall, when you step out of your classroom, you're in the city of Detroit. And I think that's how, one of the beautiful things about Detroit and Wayne State, because you can't have Wayne State without Detroit and vice versa. And so I think anytime I'm in the city, I'm going down to Belle Isle, as they mentioned. I'm catching the Q line, a couple times a week. I'm hitting up, this new restaurant, and I have a plan to kind of go to more restaurants this summer. And do more things, more concerts at the Aretha, formerly known as Shane Park, as people still call it. And so I think, and that's always something going on. And as Tequila mentioned, a lot of stuff is free, so a lot of times you don't have to pay things, or if you do have to pay for things, they're, a pretty, good cost for things. But I think there's always something to do, and there's never a dull moment. I think, and again, I think there's always a great place to eat. Food is always popping. Concerts are always coming. Comedy shows, things like that. So there's never a dull moment, especially in the summertime. I think the summertime and the fall is when I enjoy Detroit the most, not the winter.
You just gotta get your coat. That's all. I will add, because I'm another native Detroiter as well. So, of course, Belle Isle, you've heard that it's a theme because it's like amazing. It's a place where I go to just have my peace and reflect. Nikhil mentioned the Riverwalk, which you can just see Canada right across the street. So we're international right here, which is literally a bridge or a tunnel away. And the museums are right, you're like literally, Wayne State is walkable to everything. If you want to go to the Tigers game, you can walk to the Tigers game. Want to go to the Pistons or the football game, the Lions, you can walk to all of that. So you have all that luxury here. But I'm going to throw a couple things that wasn't mentioned. So the first is Easter Market. It's the oldest open market that exists in the country. And so there's so much stuff going on. You can get fresh food and all of those things, but there's entertainment, there's all kinds of things with that. And then the other thing I have to mention is Motown. So Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. Come on, you want to know about all that? How they did it? You can gotta go visit the Motown Museum. So at least check that off your list. So those are a few things that I would say consider. Now I'm gonna ask you all another question I want all of you all to answer as well. As a graduate student, it's intense, right? A graduate degree is not easy because you're either a master or you're a doctor of whatever this subject matter is going to be. So it's going to make sure that you can pass that credential with that. So, with that being said, how do you practice self care, making sure that you are staying well in this process, in this journey? So, I'm going to ask if each of you can share how you are practicing self care. And let's start with Nikhil.
Um, I practice self care. Like I'm a little bit of passion driven, and you can also call me a little bit of nerd. I'm okay with that. So, but basically, when I have tough time studying or when I have issues with concentration, I just go meet with my friends, have fun, and then I come back, sit and review what I have done, or if I'm lagging. There's a planned schedule of mine, and if I think that I'm lagging behind, sometimes I think that it's it's like hectic for me and I cannot do it. I just go listen to some podcasts or something like that, which helps me motivate me. And then once back, I'm back on my track. Then I just continue with my schedule. Apart from that, the way which I provide myself as self care is that I'm a person who's into music, and music is like you just literally get elevated every time. So I practice music, and I have other hobbies like playing badminton, which helps me take care of myself in terms of health and in terms of other stuff. So I think this is the way I practice my self care.
Thank you for sharing. Anthony, how are you taking care of yourself?
Well, full transparency, it took me a while to kind of figure out what it was, what self care meant. I think I was so used to this too shall pass, get through it, push, keep going. And then I think it was in the last year or so I realized that it's okay to step away, put the book down, start reading the article. And so that's one thing that I've started to do is put things down and step away from it. And then knowing that it'll be there when I get back. It always is there. It doesn't go anywhere. And I think another thing that I do is I had to find what made me happy. I had to find what made me happy because going into this, I did not know. And so you just find yourself throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And so music, FaceTime with my family, going out to eat, or cooking at home for that matter, or just relaxing on the couch watching Netflix. You find peace in those moments when you're not doing anything, right? And as a grad student, you're probably going to wear many hats. You're going to, if you have a family, you're a mom or dad, you're a sister or brother, you're a friend. You may have a full-time job, so you're an employee. And so it feels good to not have any of those hats on. And so I think find what makes you happy and then hold on to it. And then as you continue on in the process, whether you're getting a master's degree or a doctorate degree, I think be okay with those things changing and just keep adding things to the list that make you happy as you go through the process, because it should change, and it will change as it gets more stressful. And you'll find new ways to make sure that you're happy in the moments when you're not the happiest.
Thank you. Isaiah, can you share?
Yeah, for me, I think it goes way back from where I came from. So there is this sense of community that we share. So the first thing that I enjoyed here at Wayne State that has helped me practice self care to the best is to talk to fellow like-minded folks, and it's more like walking through the program and walking on the walkway and running into one of my Nigerian friend or one of my friends from Ghana or some of my friends from Uruguay and all of that, and just have a little chat about how things are going. What you want to do, like, do you want us to hang out or something, and that's fine, things like that. And also, I have a lot of Netflix, Prime Video, and all of the subscriptions. So if I feel like I'm bored, I just have to, go in and, watch some movies and, cool off. I play games. I watch. I'm good at watching basketball and, every other, day I play soccer. So it's like there is a lot of things for me to do. So I try not to, get myself caught up with the pressure of the PhD program. Yeah, of course, it's a PhD program. It's like a 5 years program, and it's going to be a little bit tense at the point, and it's going to be cool at the time. It's just like ups and down, so you just have to find a way of cooling off and all of that. So I'll say the best way for me to practice self-care is through sport, um, you know through community, and through active networking with friends. And on the other side, I write poems, and I discuss about graduate opportunities with folks back at home and all of that. So I have like a huge followership on Twitter where I share stuff about applying to grad schools, what you have to do, preparing your SOP. All of these things give me like a way of, cooling off and getting myself together. So for me, that's how I practice self care.
Thank you for sharing. Last but not least.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, similar to what Anthony was saying, it took a long time for me to find what self care meant for me. Um, to be honest, soul searching is something that's going to be very hard, but very worthwhile. And your future self will definitely appreciate that time for you to explore yourself and what that means. I'll definitely advocate for that being something that is not linear. It's something that you will have to say, oh, maybe this spaghetti noodle isn't going to stick, but another one very well may. So, like I was saying earlier, I enjoy, going to conservatories or looking at flowers. I take trips to Chicago all the time. Um, I used to live in Chicago during my gap year, so that's like my second home. I like going to those immersive art museums or going to studios with small time artists, going to small time concerts, and really supporting the city because ultimately the city has done so much for me to support me in my own journey. So, kind of pouring back into others is how my cup is filled as well.
Thank you all for sharing. And I'll share um, my method as well. I think that you all hit on a lot of great things. And one of the things I always tell prospective students is you do need to know why you're doing this, right? Why are you going to graduate school? Why are you getting this master's degree? Why are you getting this doctoral degree? You need to have the answer to that, because when those moments are lower than you like them to be, you need to be able to refer back to, this is why I'm doing this. And so once you have that, that'll be part of the journey. The second piece I will say is you have to take care of yourself, because literally as a graduate student, you could read, write, work on some kind of project 7 days a week. So you need to have a day that you dedicate to yourself, or some time that you dedicate to yourself. So for me, I try to make my Fridays, that's my day I can have an adult beverage if I want to. That's when I check in with the families. Anybody want to go out? Look, Friday, that's that day. We can connect. Other days I can't guarantee you, because I might have to study, I might have to read, I might have to do something, but that's that day. So at least have some time that you set aside. Maybe you do it daily, or maybe you do it whenever. The other thing is, I do think you'll find your rhythm of what it might be. Like for me, I started meditating. I won't say I've been meditating for a long time, but I started meditating. I like it. I enjoy it. But I'm not that hour long meditator. I am not that. 10 minutes is my max, but it's what works for me. I could do that at lunch. I could do that whenever. So 10 minutes, here's my meditation, boom, I'm done with that. So those are just some tips that we like to share with you all for that. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions before we wrap this up. So one of the questions I'm going to ask, and I'll ask Anthony because you're a Detroit transplant now. But one of the things I want to ask you, because you're not from here technically, right? Do you feel safe in Detroit?
Absolutely. I never felt unsafe in Detroit. I think when I moved here, 12 years ago, wow, it was not easy not finding my tribe. If that makes sense. When I say not easy is because I'm an extrovert by nature, and so I think I'm talking to people, asking people where they're from, and so it was always great conversations. And I think once you find your tribe, people kind of, in a lot of the tribe that I had connected with were Detroit natives, right? And so, and I think, wherever you go, and I hate that Detroit gets such a bad rep because no matter where you go, it's going to be bad areas, good areas, not so great areas. And I think, once you find your tribe and your people who, that they have your best interests at heart and vice versa, I think stick with those people. And I think once you'll eventually learn, there's some places you want to go that you can let your hair down, and there's some places you can't go. And I think that's with anywhere, not just necessarily Detroit. But to answer your question, Chantel, never have I not felt safe in Detroit. I love the city, and Chantel, you can probably attest to this. When I came, back in 2010, I kind of saw Detroit grow. And even over the 12 years that I've been in the state of Michigan, I've seen Detroit, change and develop and grow and improve. I still see things going up and around the city. So I know that, when people come down, they're enjoying themselves. And I'm the first to tell you, I'm always looking to come down to the city and have a great time and, go to some bars and hang out with some friends on my self-care free days.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, Isaiah. You're new to the states. What has been your experience? Do you feel safe in Detroit?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel safe in Detroit. Like Anthony said, like there is nowhere that you don't have to be careful about. Where you have to be careful where you have to go to and where you don't have to go to. But in general, I feel so safe around Detroit and, coming on campus and going back home because of the presence of the campus police. It's pretty much walking like 5 minutes and there is just a campus police um, car coming right in front of you. So it's like it gives you like this sense of calm and peace. And there was one time I was like working in the lab late into the night, like 11 o'clock, because I had to like collect some data, and I was like leaving the lab. It was late, and there was like the campus police truck driving behind me just to like walk me down to my apartment. So it's like a very short distance, but I felt like, oh, if this is like getting me safe, around Detroit. And for me, I've not had any reason to feel that Detroit is unsafe because, of course, I go within my limits.
Well, thank you for sharing. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to ask each of you because you've been in the seat where these prospective students have been, and whatever those narratives were in your head about why you do this, why not, why you've waited so long, all of those things. I just want you each to give what your advice would be to a prospective student. So I'll start with you, Takila. Can you share?
Yeah, my advice I would say is to not take yourself so seriously. As young people, or if you aren't a young person, just in general, the pressures of society are to check the box and to cross out, this on the list, to do the thing. And we will, like Anthony was saying earlier, the tasks are always going to be there. So you will have that time to accomplish it, but continue to give yourself the grace and the space to grow and to actually enjoy this program, whichever program that you're going to be a part of. And it may seem insane to say don't take yourself so seriously, but sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own heads that we actually aren't learning and we actually aren't growing. So that would be my little token to take with you.
Thank you. Nikhil, what would you share with this group?
So, my suggestion for these students would be that start being comfortable with being uncomfortable. As Tequila said, that you did not take anything seriously. But I suggest you that if being an international student, you just get experience to various different things. That might be overwhelming, but you shouldn't take that too seriously and just get a hang of it. And apart from that, I also suggest that you take uh, make first move, make contacts, make a lot, have a lot of friends, go out, hang out, chill, enjoy. But at the same time, I suggest that you concentrate on your studies as well. Most of the people might be thinking that masters will be really easy, and me during my undergraduate, I have seen people posting on Instagram that I went there, I went here, and this is so cool. But when in reality, I would say that it's a little bit tough, it's a little bit difficult, I agree. But once you get the hang of it, and you'll be so good, and you'll just enjoy the place in that ride.
Thank you for sharing, Isaiah.
Yeah, so for me, my advice will be for you to understand that you define what your journey through the program will be like. So upon getting into the program, you have to, overcome what is known as the kind of imposter syndrome. You have to believe that you are more than enough, because for you to, scale through all the application process, the requirement, the interview, and all of that, the visa, and what have you, it means that you have what it takes to be part of this program, and the department or the university believes so much in you. So having said that, the next thing you have to prioritize is your mental health. It's very important. Seek help, seek leverage. The way research and the way the master's and the graduate program is, it strengthens what is known as a collaborative effort. So you don't want to sit on your own and believe you can do it. You can't do it all by yourself. So know when to seek for help, and know when to, talk to people, and that will help you through the program. Another thing you have to prioritize is networking. You have to network and join a community. That will help you a lot, because you're getting into this program, you do not know what to expect at the point, but there are people who have gone through this process way before you, or there are people who are sharing similar experiences, and you can share, you can rub mind, and you can ease all of this tension. And for those who probably be doing research intense program, like maybe a PhD in chemistry, a PhD in robotics engineering, or master in robotics engineering, and all of that, I would say you have to understand that research is a continuous process. So it's more of you understanding that you have to just contribute your own quota. So it's more of you coming to reality that does this match your interest? The research you want to go into, does it match your interest? What about the advisor you want to work with? What is the lab dynamics like, and all of those things about working, because it's going to be like a long process. So you just have to set your priority right. And the final word for you is that Wayne State is a great place to be. You will love it.
All right, Anthony.
So my parting words would be that I oftentimes tell myself, if not you, then who? And so I tell myself that often because, as someone in education, we could see all the negatives, all the gaps. And I'm a firm believer in that if you see a gap, then fill it, right? And so, if you see a gap and you know that you may have an interest in finding a solution for that gap, or at least being a part of the solution, I think grad school is a place for you. And as my fellow panelists have also mentioned, that Wayne State is a great place as well. So look at the different programs that you have an interest in, and then have those conversations. Because again, within our respective fields, we can always spot the issues, right? But only a few people are figuring out solutions. And if you want to be a part of the solution, come on to Wayne State, get you a master's or PhD, and join the party.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to do one thing before I let everybody go. And I just agree with all the things being said. And I would just use myself. I had a huge gap before I went back to graduate school, and those narratives of, oh, I haven't studied in a while, GRE, GMAT, all these things were things that were coming up in my head, preventing me from going to graduate school. But I am graduating right now. So I'm telling you, let my story be something to inspire you. Because if I can do it, who had somebody who had a great time in undergrad, so you understand what I mean by that, you can too. So thank you, students, for taking time out of your day. I hope for you all prospective students that their experience is something that'll be inspirational. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to share one quick slide with you. Nick, if you can put that up real quick. So right now, I want you all to get ready that there will be some sessions, our second half, that'll be from 5:30 to 6:30. So there are concurrent sessions that are listed on the website below. So you can just click on those and join any of the sessions that you're interested in. If you still have questions that we didn't answer, feel free to reach out via any of these email addresses here. And then again, we want you to be at Wayne State. I hope this has inspired you to come to Wayne State, and we will see you soon. Thank you for coming to visit the graduate information session.